Okay, so let's just review some key vocabulary that we use all the time. Okay, and we're talking about expressions and equations and things like that. So we have this basic expression up here at the top here, right? This expression right here. And listen, I just like to talk about vocabulary in context here. So you should see that we have variables in there as well as constants, coefficients, and there are a number of terms there. So let me just talk about variables. Again, you guys know variables are just letters that represent numbers. All right, so you should see that we have 5 A's right there. So we have an A as a variable. We got 3 X's there. We got negative 2 A's there. We have a positive X and we have a negative A, right? So those are the variables there. So there's really only 2 different variables in this expression. We have A's and X's, okay? So constant. Remember, a constant is a number by itself. Remember, a constant means, by definition, something that doesn't change, right? So a variable changes, right? So that A could be something different in each different equation, but a constant like a negative 4 or a positive 5 that you see in this expression here are always that value. So they're constant. They don't change. So remember that a constant is just a number. And when you look at that, you want to think of that not as a 4, but as a negative 4 right there. Okay, that's not a positive 4. It's a negative 4 because it's being subtracted, right? And the same thing, that is a positive 5 because it's being added, right? Remember that minus 4, we can always think of it as adding a negative 4 there, right? So that minus 4 means that that constant is a negative 4, not a positive 4. Okay, so coefficient. Let's go back to coefficient real quick here, right? So coefficient. All right, so on coefficient there, it's the number that's directly in front of the variable. All right, so when we're looking here and you're talking number directly in front of the variable, what do we have? Okay, well, we have a variable A. Directly in front of that is 5. So that's the coefficient of A there is 5. Right? It's 5 times A. The coefficient's multiplying, but that coefficient is 5. It's just the number in front of the variable. The coefficient of X in that second term there is 3. Right? So the coefficient of X there is 3. Right? It's the number in front of the variable. Right? There wouldn't be a coefficient here, right, with that negative 4 because there's no variable. Remember, you need a variable to have a coefficient. Right? So it has to be the number right in front. So if you look here, that negative 2 in front of the 2A. So that A there has a coefficient of negative 2. All right, the 5, of course, it's a constant. No, remember, you need a variable. These last 2 are interesting because, right, this one right here is a 1, right? So the coefficient there is a 1 in front of that X. And with this A, it's actually a negative 1 right there, right? Because that's a minus A, right? So that's a negative 1 right there that you want to see. All right, not a negative I. It just looks like, yeah, it's a negative 1, right? So again, remember, the coefficient is simply the number in front of any variable that's multiplying there. Just be careful if it's a minus, that makes it a negative. Okay, in any term, it could be a variable, it could be a constant, it could be a variable with a coefficient like we just said. So I always say look between the addings and the subtractings, right? So if you look right here, there you should count that there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I count them 7 terms in that, right? So we got the term of 5A. We got a term of 3X, right? We have a term of negative 4, right? We have a term of negative 2A. We have a term of 5. We have a term of X. And we have a term of negative 1A there. Remember, that negative stays with the term. Okay, so you should see 7 terms, right? 2 of them are constants, the negative 4 and the 5, right? And the rest are variables with coefficients of either 5, 3, negative 2, 1, and negative 1 there. Okay, so I would like to pause right now. You guys should copy down these 4 vocabulary terms right now into a notebook. All right, so I'm going to give you some time to do that. All right, but remember, variable, constant, coefficient, and term.